Alright, hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mast, and welcome to another showcase for a mod that I just created called Simple Standing Stone Overhaul. So similar to Simple Race Overhaul, this is a basic effect overhaul for these standing stones. In Skyrim, there are 13 different standing stones, and this mod introduces new effects to all of them, along with new descriptions to match. So we're going to start here with the 3 standing stones in the beginning: the warrior, the mage, and the thief. Starting with the warrior right here. With all these, we're not going to necessarily showcase the effects because a lot of them won't need to be showcased. I'll pull up the magic effect, show you guys what it does, explain a little bit of the thought process behind it. Some of these I feel like will actually be worth showcasing. We'll actually bother to do that. But for these ones right here, they're mostly pretty simple. The warrior, those under the sign of the warrior, have improved power attacks. Worth mentioning, I don't remember if I did already, all of these are script free, nothing you'll have to worry about. Very simple little overhaul. And with this, your power attacks deal 25% more damage and they cost 25% less stamina. So I didn't like with Mundus by Simon Magus. The one thing I dislike with that overhaul is the big stat boost you get from these in the beginning. Simply getting 50%, or not 50, but 50 flat more magicka, stamina, or health. I feel like it's a crazy stat boost early on. I wanted these to be more playstyle dependent, less just general big stat gains. So you do get stat gains with some of these, but it's relevant and it's similar to how it would be in vanilla. And these ones right here, you don't get those sort of stat gains. You're getting boosts to different skills and stuff like that. So this one, very simple. Warrior power attacking is just more effective. You can do it more often. You can do it more effectively. Pretty simple little overhaul right there. If you want to be tankier, there will be some other stones to do that. For the mage, very, very simple. Mages cast more powerful spells. So with this, you'll see the spells are 15% stronger, and this will be contrary to the apprentice, where I did something a little bit unique where we actually made spells weaker in exchange for magicka regen. So we can take a little peek here. This one will actually be able to stand out in the UI. Flames would normally do 8 damage, it now does 9 damage. Healing would normally heal for 10, it now heals for 12. Of course, these will get like rounded up / rounded down. You're not going to get like these in-between values here in the UI. So yeah, 15% little boost. Mage Stone pretty good. And then the Thief Stone right here, those under the sign of the Thief are more effective at sneaking, lock picking, and pickpocketing. And so with this, it's kind of a mesh of general thief skills. It's not really combat oriented. Your sneaking is 15% more effective, and your lockpicking and pickpocketing are 30% more effective. So let's go ahead and head on out to the other stones, starting with the apprentice. All right, so the apprentice, in my opinion, pretty cool. With this, you're getting an effect somewhat similar to vanilla. You're getting more magicka regen, but you cast weaker spells. So if we actually go ahead and look at the effect right here, we've got 2 effects that'll show up. One of these is increasing our magicka regeneration by 100%. The other is making our spell casting weaker. So generally speaking, we'll be healing for less, doing less damage. Illusion spells will be less effective against leveled targets, stuff like that. But in exchange, we get way more magicka regen. And overall, if you're consistently fighting, especially consistently casting like destruction spells, this is also a great thing if you're like, trying to maybe summon or something. It's not really going to work the same for summoning to have those be weaker, so that'll be pretty effective. Variety of stuff. Generally speaking, this will actually be pretty strong, but your spells will actively feel weaker as you cast them. You can just cast them more often. So I actually like this one quite a bit. Moving on to the Atronach stone over here, we've got something similar but kind of contrary, which is those under the sign of the Atronach have a larger pool of magicka, but they recover it at a slower rate. So if we go ahead and peek at the effect right here, total magicka has been increased by 100, which is a very big boost, but magicka regen has been reduced by 75%. So, especially early in the game, this will stand out a lot. It can be a very valuable stone for a variety of magic casting, because you might be able to cast spells that you just simply couldn't before because you didn't have enough magicka. You can cast kind of a larger pool of spells all at once, but overall your regen will be slower. So with the mage spell, or the mage stone, you can cast stronger spells. With the apprentice stone, you can cast spells more often. Overall feels really worth it if you're consistently casting. And then the Atronach stone can let you cast a bunch up front all at once, but is not going to be as valuable when you have to regen that magicka later on, at least if you don't have any sort of like enchanted items to help make up for that magicka regen nerf. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, moving on over here to the Lady Stone. Those under the sign of the Lady receive improved speech and prices. I actually don't remember what the vanilla one is right now. I think it's a very basic stone. This one I went ahead and took some liberties, made quite a bit more different. By the way, with the Atronach stone, for anybody wondering, I feel like spell absorb is just such an inconsistent thing in Skyrim. I'm not really a fan of it. That's why I took it away and just focused on the magicka versus regen trade-off for the stone. I feel like it's so awkward trying to play around spell absorption since it's so inconsistent whether or not you're fighting mages. But with the Lady Stone here, if I remember right, this stone felt pretty bad in vanilla Skyrim. Again, I can't think of what it actually was right now. So I figured a lady, probably gonna be, you know, kind of cultured, kind of polite, gonna probably be good at wooing people, good at buying goods, selling goods, whatever it may be. So I went for a speech angle with it. Speech gets straight up improved, and then prices are 10% better. And with that 10% better, that means 10% cheaper to buy, 10% better prices to sell. I don't know exactly how I should said that. So it's like 10% both ways. Really good for kind of like a general merchant, persuasion, whatever it may be, type of run. All right, moving on to the Lord Stone. With the Lord Stone, you'll be more resistant to both physical and magical damage, which is magic resist and armor rating. So if we go ahead and take a quick little peek at this, you'll see for damage resistance, armor rating is increased by 100, and for magic resistance, that's increased by 20%. So in general, just being tankier, consistent, gonna work for a huge variety of builds. Pretty much anything you're going for, you'll just be more effective in combat. Nice and simple. All right, on to the Lover Stone. This one I really like the effect for. If we get a little too deep into it, the idea with it is that literally when you're having sex, you are actively using stamina, but you're more vulnerable, and that's what I made the effect. So those under the sign of the Lover receive faster stamina regeneration, but they take more damage. That was like the theme behind it. So potentially very strong effect, but also potentially pretty punishing effect. So 100% increased stamina regeneration, but you take 15% more damage. Of course, this is kind of similar to the Apprentice Stone for magic, but with somebody that's going to be more of a fighter relating to stamina, or maybe somebody who just wants to sprint around the map. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, much faster stamina regen, but you are going to take more damage from all sources. It's not just physical damage. All right, so now moving on to the Ritual Stone. This one people might think is OP, but I think it's going to be very cool. And then honestly, I don't know if it's really OP, because I think the vanilla perk this is locked behind is really like kind of unnecessarily high up in the perk tree. So the Ritual Stone, normally in vanilla, it does have a pretty cool power, although a power that a lot of people won't tend to use, which is you can just do a big giant AoE, what's the term for this? Summon undead or whatever, turn undead type spell. So if you have a bunch of dead bodies around, you can just like have an insane amount of little dead goons. But with this, I made this more of a general conjuration stone. So those under the sign of the ritual can summon an additional creature or corpse at any given time. So if you're trying to play around conjuration, necromancy, whatever it may be, now you can have 2 undead, 1 undead, and like a creature that you've summoned, or 2 creatures, basically 2 general things that have been like summoned, turned, whatever it may be under your command at a time, rather than 1, which I think is a pretty big deal. And at least for me, would make a conjuration playthrough a lot more interesting. So this one will actually bother to showcase. I think it's pretty relevant. I went ahead and gave myself the Conjure Spectral Wolf spell here. I went ahead and gave myself God mode, so we actually have the magicka for it. So normally, with the second one that we summon, this one would disappear. Now we have 2, and if we cast it one more time, we'll see now that one disappears. So 2 summons at a time. Might want to go like Flame Atronach and Ice Atronach. What am I trying to say here? Flame Atronach and Ice Atronach, whatever it may be. Get a little fire and ice thing going. I don't know. But yeah, I thought this one was really cool. So if you're a summoner, this is probably a really fun one to mess around with, because it should really change how conjuration feels throughout the early stages when you can't do this. All right, on to the Serpent Stone. So this one I like quite a bit. I definitely stuck with the actual theme of the serpent quite a bit. So those under the sign of the serpent can apply their poisons more effectively and deal additional sneak attack damage. And while the apply their poisons more effectively is a little bit vague in this description, I tried to keep it simple. Here in the actual ability description, we can see more clearly. Poisons are applied for 2 additional doses, and sneak attacks deal 25% more damage. So a couple of things to note there. The 2 additional doses means when you apply a poison to a weapon, whether using a bow and arrow, whether using like a dagger, sword, whatever it may be. Of course, normally you're going to apply 1 dose. It's going to apply on your next hit. This way you would apply 2 additional, meaning 3 doses, which makes poisons way more relevant, assuming that you're having an issue of quantity, or maybe quantity of quality, where it's like, for example, if you want to use paralysis poisons, this makes it way easier to spread that around or continue to apply it, stuff like that. So if you want to go for a poison playthrough, the stone will be really valuable. And then also if you're just going for a general assassin type build, sneak attack dealing 25% more damage is based on the total sneak attack multiplier. So if your sneak attacks are dealing double damage, then this 25% would be 2.5 times damage. So it might be stronger than it sounds just by reading the description. And now the Shadow Stone. So the Thief Stone before I kept for a variety of thief skills, you got a decent boost. This is going to be a very stealth focused boost that is stronger than the Thief Stone. So if we go ahead and activate this, those under the sign of the shadow can move silently and sneak more effectively. And if we go ahead and peek at the description in here, you move silently, sneaking is 30% more effective. And if you'll remember with the Thief Stone, sneaking was only 15% more effective. That move silently is a big deal, a very nice add-on to sneaking, and especially early game it will stand out a ton. Moving silently means even if you are directly behind an enemy, they won't know you're there, as long as they don't have line of sight on you. Of course, there's a lot of spots where normally you're not really thinking about it, but it's like, oh, you can't really sneak up to somebody early on in the game behind them, even if you're staying out of sight, because footsteps are an issue. With this, not an issue, and then just in general, sneaking is quite a bit more effective as well. All right, the Steed Stone. So the Steed Stone probably fits a variety of play styles. Those under the sign of the steed can carry more and move faster, and they move quite a bit faster. This will be really nice for survival mode. You get 100 extra carry weight. So if we go ahead and peek over here, right now we're not in survival mode. We're getting a big boost. We're also getting 50 from being a Nord with my race overhaul. So normally this would be 300, and then normally with this it would be 400 carry weight, getting improved from the Steed Stone. But then also, as we can see here, not only are we getting carry weight, we're getting 15% increased move speed, which is a big boost. So whether you're just trying to run around Skyrim quickly, whether you want to outspeed people in combat, bunch of different situations, you'll just be very fast in general. Not to an absurd degree, but definitely it'll be something noticeable. It'll be a nice boost for you. Yeah, pretty simple effect. And finally, last but not least, maybe least, we've got the Tower Stone. So the Tower Stone, very tank focused. I changed it from its lock picking focus that it had in vanilla, made it more of a tanky style stone. So those under the sign of the tower receive increased health regeneration and improved blocking. So if you're trying to go for a very fortuitous tank type build that's very blocking focused, this will be a very nice boost where you're getting your health regen increased by 100% and your blocking is 25% more effective. That 25% boost to blocking can get really, really strong. It's already going to be noticeable right away when you take it, but especially as you continue to scale your blocking through perks, that'll be something where if you're going for a tanky playthrough trying to block a ton of damage, this will end up being a really nice one to go along with the playstyle. So that should do it for every stone. Basic little summary right there. I thought I'd keep this simple. I didn't really think we needed to do a whole on showcase thing where I'm showing them in combat, because really they're pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you want to check out the mod, of course, it's in the description. It's on Nexus. Very simple. It should be very compatible. If you are not using something like Mundus or some other Standing Stone effect overhaul, you shouldn't have any issues. Any sort of like texture, graphics, stuff like that mods shouldn't have any issues with it. All it's doing is just editing like the text that it shows and the actual effect that it has and changing them into something that I think is a little more interesting. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.
I've been seeking for the glory. Say my name. And I've been trying to write my own story in the search for fame. I'm sitting here in this empty room, walls keep tumbling down.